All right, let's talk about septic maintenance plans. You probably have all seen these, heard of these. People have probably tried to sell them to you. They probably send you mailers in the mail because they know you have a septic system. A plumbing company or a septic company sends you a mailer to get on their septic maintenance program. Cost X amount of dollars, to do that every month, or you can pay every 6 months, or we'll give you a discount if you pay us once a year. That's what I'm talking about. This is for aerobic systems. Maybe somebody does something for ladder line fields. I would say just simply what you need to do is get flushable bacteria. If you have a ladder line field, you need to be flushing that bacteria at least once a month, if not twice. And then because it'll get into your ladder line field that way and help everything continuously break down the best it can in that. And then 2 is make sure that you're pumping your tank on the regular scheduled basis. Aside from that, there's not much to check with those because they just completely work off gravity. But for the rest of us that have aerobics like me and like you that are probably watching this video, let's look at septic maintenance plans and what that means. So I got 3 businesses up here. One was a local company, one is the next big city over, and then this one was in a separate city. I just wanted to kind of spread out. Some of these had information on the web, some did not. They had most all this except for the service calls, and some of this off to the side I had to call for myself to find out. This is the basic information here that was on Business 2's website. And Business 3 had nothing you had to call, so I actually called to ask what their yearly fee was and got to this number, and then I'll go into detail about what she told me on the phone here briefly. So let's look at Business 1. Business 1, $275 a year is what theirs costs. That's $32 a month. They required a minimum 2-year contract for $550. They said that they replace the diffuser every time you come out. And what I have to say about that is that's probably not happening because this would be the hardest thing for you as a homeowner to actually ensure got replaced or to even have any way to look at that. It is in the tank. It's all the way at the bottom. And I don't understand how or why they would be doing that, to be 100% honest with you. If your system's operating, the diffuser probably doesn't need to be replaced as long as the air is blowing properly. I'm sure at some point in time or at some level, maybe you could replace the diffuser, but it probably doesn't need to be replaced every 6 months. And again, nobody's going to know. Somebody like me would, and I could run through some basic stuff for you to check that out and to probably debunk that, but I'm not going to do that because I don't necessarily want to bash these companies. I just want you to be aware. They do $65 off of your service call if you're paying for this. Their service call is $225 for them to show up, and if it's after hours, add $200 to that for a grand total of $425 for the service call. And it doesn't matter whether it's 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening or Sunday before church. You're going to pay $425 for them to show up and at what they would consider an after hours call. They give you 15% off of chlorine tablets if you had a tablet system and not a bleach system that goes into your pump tank. $25 off tank pumping. I asked them what they charge to come out and just pump my trash tank. This company said that they do not just come, they basically refuse to come out and just pump your trash tank on your aerobic. That you either get the whole system pumped for $650 or they won't service you. So they're basically giving you $25 off of a $650 tank pumping. Gotcha, thanks. So most people, if their system's operating correctly, and as long as it's not, I might do a full tank pumping every other time, but I'm for sure not doing it every time. So that was interesting that they refused to come and just pump my trash tank. Annual supply of bacteria, you can get online and buy that for $40. It costs them about $9 because they're buying it in cases. I pretty much know where they're ordering that stuff. And so they make a lot of money on this because they're coming out twice a year. They're basically just doing a quick inspection that takes them about 40 minutes, maybe an hour if they're really poking around and messing around. Probably 30 minutes if somebody knows what they're doing. So that's what you get here. The next one's $350 a year, $175 biannually. they give you 50% off of a service call. I did not call about their service calls. I'm going to guess they're probably pretty close to in line with this company. Same thing, 2 visits a year. Third company was 3.25 a year. She basically told me that I didn't ask about discounts. I'm sure it's going to fall. This is probably some kind of industry standard. I never offered these programs because I just didn't feel the need to do that. And she said depending on how old your system was and how well it was maintained and trying to get it up to speed and things like that could impact what this yearly charge is, which I don't quite understand that, just because they don't provide any parts, or these do not provide you with anything but an inspection. Maintenance is, I really don't even like the word septic maintenance plan. It's really a marketing play on words as far as I'm concerned. It's a septic inspection plan. There is no maintenance going on here. They're going to clean your filter out here. They're going to add some bleach to your system. Maybe they're going to perform operations check to make sure everything's operating correctly and putting your timer back into the correct time if that was needed. And then outside of that, they're probably just going to tell you what's broke. Do I think that nobody should do this? Absolutely not. I think that they're out of 100% of the people I think that have aerobic systems, there's probably about 10% that need this program. Mostly elderly people that don't have family members that live close that can perform the checks and balances and keep things operating smoothly. Maybe some single moms that aren't that handy, some single dads that aren't that handy. Everybody else that I know that has one of these systems is more than capable to perform the checks and balances to make sure that their system is up to speed. And in order to properly inspect any tank, meaning the actual concrete tank itself, it will require the whole system to be pumped completely clean and washed out really good so that you can inspect all the walls and make sure there's no major cracks or roots getting in there. So that wouldn't have anything to do with this, because they're not coming to pump your system out every 6 months when they come out. So let's break down, because this is all 2 visits a year. What I want to break down first is I put time and parts on here, meaning your time and what the parts cost you. So in this case, your time is worth something. I don't know what your time is worth, because everybody's time is worth different, because we all have different obligations to serve others. But here, the parts, this pump right here, you're looking at all the parts that are mechanical inside of an aerobic. That's it. That's all there is to the entire system. You're looking at it on the table. So a little giant pump, if you order this pump online, you're looking at about $380. Aerator pump, $265 for a brand name. This is a non-brand name here. That one is $200. These floats run anywhere from $85 to $100. A control box, less than 5% of you are ever, and probably even less than 2.5% of you are ever going to have to replace your control box. As long as when it was installed, they silicone these off where your pipe comes up from the tank, and this drops silicone inside, which there's a separate video on that. It keeps moisture from getting in the box, and as long as your screws here, you got to have both these screws, and it needs to be screwed shut, because there's a weather seal inside of this box to keep moisture out. You're not going to have any issues. This box, my system's been in 5 years. If we go open my box, it looks like I put it in yesterday, because no moisture gets in there. So very few of you are ever going to have to do that, but if you do, you're looking at about $475 plus for the box. And then a pump out. Most everybody's going to fall in the 3 to 5 year range to have their system pumped out, and that's an average of $350. Could be $300, could be $400, but that's about $350. So if we did the pump out, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 here, because these 4, because the control box is such a small percentage of people that are ever going to have to do that. Most of you are not going to have to pay anything, and you shouldn't, because your box will go corroded pretty fast if the sewer gas gets up in here. I'm not going to get completely off a tangent on that, but that will be falling on your installer, because they failed to silicone it properly. It corroded the box. They need to come and replace the box for free. So that's a them problem, not a you problem. So the 4 of these things online costs roughly $1,080. if you were to live in the city, you would be paying for city sewer, right? So they basically just charge you a service fee to take care of all your goods. So think of yourself as your own city sewer manager. It's exactly what you are, because the system, an aerobic system, is a miniature septic plant. So the city that I live in charges people that are on the sewer $13 a month, and they do that based on the water tap that you have, which most everybody has a 3/4 inch or a 1/2 inch tap. And so that is $13 a month, $156 a year. And if I save that $13 a month for 5 years, I'm going to have $780. So I'm going to get just $300 shy of being able to afford to pay for every part that I need. If I take the septic maintenance plan and I did it on a 5-year span, meaning this even is on a 5-year span to me, I'm saving that money for 5 years so that I could buy the parts and then spend my time replacing it using these videos. So if I took $275, the cheaper of the three here, by 5 years, which bear in mind, they may or may not let me do a 5-year contract because that minimum 2-year contract is required. So I might have to add another $275 to that, even though these parts will only fail every 5 years. But I just was nice and just gave them the benefit of the doubt that since I did the first two, they're just going to let me do an 1 year at a time deal. So it cost me $1375 for the 5 years. If a pump burns up, if your pump burns up within that 5 years, they're probably going to charge you $500. You could buy it for $380 roughly and put it in yourself. They're not going to sell it to you for $380, I promise you. The service call is $160, and I know you're thinking, oh, it's $225. Well, they did give me the $65 off discount out of the $225 if they come during regular hours. If this pump goes down and your tank is too full and you don't have the emergency kit, you're stuck, your house is backed up, and if that's on a Saturday, that means no water can be running to your system. So you might end up paying an after hours, which I didn't put that in here. I'm just assuming this would happen, and then they could get there the next day during business hours to take care of you, which is probably very unlikely. No matter how busy or not busy they are, they're going to be that busy, I promise. So $160 for the service call. If you were able to get in for the $225 regular daytime hours to get your pump replaced, and then $85 for the float, and that's the cost you could pretty much get it for. They're not going to charge you $85. They're going to charge you $100 or $125 for that float. But I was again generous here. So $2,120 is what we come up with at the end of 5 years. So if we took the pump and the float out of this here, 160, 465. So if I took 465 out of that 2,100, that's basically what you would save doing it yourself, doing the repair, and then that's what the company would make. Well, you can see what they cleared, but this is a basic breakdown of how all this works and what a septic maintenance plan actually is. And remember, it's not really a septic maintenance plan, it's a septic inspection plan, because they're really just coming to inspect, and then they offer you some level of discount by doing certain things. So if you need one of these, I highly recommend that you get one. I think that they're great for a very small percentage of people, but the rest of you don't need these plans. So I hope this was helpful, and thanks for your time.
Presented by Septic Tank Works. Waste, no worries.